So let's look at TCP level attacks. Okay, so these are the TCP level attacks: sink flooding, TCP reset attack, session hijacking, blind spoofing, and congestion control related attack. Now, remember that two entities are transmitting messages to each other. If this something, as we have seen in case of IP layer and also in case of data link layer, if somebody can change the header fields, then a person can get access to other end, or it can do some damage. Okay. So let's look at sink flooding attack. Okay, so we have seen that whenever a SYN is sent, then corresponding state or that information that has come in SYN, right, various parameters are kept in TCB. Okay, TCB is nothing but transmission control block is a kind of data structure. Okay, it's put into buffer. Okay, if attacker sends a sequence of SYNs, say hundreds or thousands, then server will keep all these states into TCB block. Okay, and then now it uses random IP addresses, right? It does not use its own IP address. Source IP address is attacker can change, right? And it means that the server will send then SYNACK, which then the response may not come back, right? Because it's all unknown IP addresses. Okay, so what will happen? This queue will become full, and whenever new SYN comes from genuine user, some other genuine user, then it will not have any space available. Okay, so once this queue is full, then it means that no new connections are allowed. So if assume that you are sending so many SYNs to some server, for example, Google server, and you can somehow able to fill the buffer that receives SYN request, where SYN data structure is kept, then obviously no new user can have a connection to that particular server, right? So this is kind of attack. Because TCP is used to store info about connection, server store TCP in queue only for half open connection. Okay, all right. What are the countermeasures? There's one countermeasure, it's called SYN cookie. Now, if somehow we are able to not store the state in TCP buffer, okay, and then keep this information somehow, okay, somewhere else, right? Then we can manage, we can overcome this. It's called SYN cookies. How do we do it? SYN cookies are clever way of avoiding storage of TCP connection state during initial handshake. It defers the storage until valid ACK comes. Okay? So it will not put the data into TCP. It crafts the initial sequence number in SYN ACK packet sent by server in a special way. So we have seen that ISN goes from B to A, right? Now this ISN is coded in very special way, right? So it hashes the details of initial SYN packet, okay? And it's TCP option using secret key, okay? And that's known only to the server. And this hash is then sent to the client as the initial sequence number. This is called SYN cookie. So server will not store the half open connection in queue. If the client is an attacker, it will not, then H will not reach the attacker. Clear? Because if he has given a spurious IP address, then SYNACK will go to that spurious IP address and will never, no response will come. Okay. If client is not attacker, it will send H1 1, whatever H value is there, it will increase it by 1 and send it in acknowledgement field. Okay. And then server checks that number in acknowledge field, that is valid or not, because it knows H, and then it's now received H plus 1, it will check it. If it's okay, then it means a genuine request. Now the data that has come to it in ACK message and using the cookie value, it can get all the parameters back. Okay, so it means essentially there is no need to save these parameters in buffer, and SYN-ACK is sent with initial number, which is nothing but the hash of all that number all that data it has received. And when the ACK comes, then it can check and get and then it can establish the connection. Any question? Now, in order to, just I would like to say that in order to understand this clearly, please go through details, what kind of parameters are sent and how receiver can regenerate that. Okay, because it needs to know certain things. It needs to know, in order to establish a TCP connection, it needs to know a lot of things. For example, source IP address, source port number, destination port number, initial sequence number, and maybe few more. Second type of attack is called reset attack. Now we have seen that when normal connection is to be closed, then we use something called FIN. It's something that connection. It means that when somebody receiver sends FIN, it means that okay, all right, now connection is to be closed. Okay. Now, however, if something goes wrong, then in receiver or sender, then it can send reset connection, RST connection. Right? Okay. Now, let's assume that now this is valid only if the sequence number matches. Okay. Can a user use or attacker use the reset message to reset the connection? Okay, so in order to do that, it has to know IP address of both parties, its port number and sequence number. These are three important things for TCP connection. And if these are correct, then it can do reset attack. But how will you know about it? Yeah, knowing IP address is not a problem. Port number, say for example, he guesses a port number, for example, to HTTP service or something. Only difficult thing to know would be sequence number. Okay. If he is able to guess the sequence number, then he can do the attack. So he can make various tries for knowing sequence number, or he can be possibly person in between or snooping the connection or using some other method. Right? For example, he can use he can be man in the middle using malicious Wi-Fi communication. He can just see what's happening in Wi-Fi because TCP connection is set and the data is going through Wi-Fi and Wi-Fi is not secure. Possibly can see all that. Next attack is TCP session hijacking attack. Where is the spurious data is sent? So attacker knows the IP address, port number, and sequence number of ongoing connection. He somehow knows that. Okay. Then he can send this data, right? Some spurious data, knowing IP address, port number, and some sequence number. Now, this sequence number need not to be 100% correct. Only thing is that he need to guess the sequence number within the receiver's window. Right? So for example, initial sequence number, the sequence number starts from say X, and 1 byte has received. So now, and however is waiting for this number of bytes, right? This number of bytes are to be received, and then spurious packet starts from this point onward. So the receiver will keep that data and put that in buffer, right? So he need not know exactly next sequence number, but if this number, okay, X plus delta or whatever, if you can guess what are the numbers left out where a window can be filled, then he can, that data will be accepted. Okay, all right. So these attacks are not so simple, but it still can be done. Next attack is that blind spoofing attack. Actually, it requires a lot of guessing game, right? So it is not possible for an off-path attacker to create a fake TCP connection, even if they can't see the responses. Okay, basically it's asking that is it possible to create a fake TCP connection? Okay, what do you mean by fake first thing, right? I mean, where you can use source size different source IP address and different port number. Okay, or there's also possibility that he knows the sequence number of earlier established connection and then fake as a source number, or hijack that in already established TCP connection. If somebody can infer the TCP initial sequence number, then it can do that. Now, again, this attack is extremely hard to do, but there have been evidences of this kind of attack. Okay, the interesting attacks are the receiver-oriented attacks, and then many Windows or many browsers do this. Okay, and you can also do that, right? If you can change your browser code slightly. Okay, so these are basically done by receiver. So for example, the sender is sending a data which is from first byte up to 1461 bytes. Okay, so note that whenever receiver sends a X, then the sender adjusts his sending window. You would have studied that, right? Now, instead of sending one X, it can divide the X, right, for different data, parts of data it received. So it will send first X up to 487, second X up to 973, third X up to 1461. It means that it has received data up to 1461. Okay, and corresponding to that, source will increase the sending window and then send the data 1461 to 2921 and so on. Okay, now the sender window has increased. Imagine yourself as a receiver. You have established a connection to say some server and you want to increase the window. So after initial response you have received, you send multiple X. Now sender will increase the window size for you and then you start getting more data. So this is kind of legal attack in some sense, right? But this attack. Okay. Second thing is that you can send the same X multiple times. You can duplicate it or triplicate it, right? So here the sender has sent data up to 1461 from initial sequence number 1 up to 1461, and it makes 5 copies of this X and then sends 5 copies. And receiver, the state machine, will not come to know about it and then increase the data rate by 5 times. All these are based on the TCP implementation. Okay. What else can be done? Now, there's a possibility of optimistic hacking. In that, you send X for data that you are anticipating to receive, but you are not received yet. Okay. So first data packet has gone here, okay, and then it sent the X, which is fine. Now second data packet has yet not been sent. This second data packet up to from 1461 up to 2921. But if receiver can always get what is going to be the next packet, right? How many bytes will be sent, and it can guess that it can send the X for that a priori, and that will make the sender to increase the sending window. All right. So this is second kind of attack. Third kind of attack. So there are See, what we have discussed on only three. There are many more attacks possible, right? Which are both sender initiated and receiver initiated. Okay. The first approach is that if you receive an ACK for data that you haven't sent, then kill the connection. It means that receiver is trying to be smart and sending the ACK a priori. Okay. Then just kill the connection. Second approach is to follow the round trip time, right? It's called RTT. So if you RTT is time that the packet will take to go from one end to another end, and then from there to come back, right? So this RTT can be is kind of known, right? So if you have sent if you receive an ACK before RTT time, it means that there is some problem, right? It means that receiver is trying to be smart. So in that case, kill the connection. And third is more involved protection scheme wherein you make receiver to prove that they have received the data, right? It means that, so one answer is that of course ACK is for that purpose, right? It has received the data, but ACK is very plain and simple. If you add nonce to that, remember we have studied nonce, right? Number used once, a random number. So basically some random number you send, and the ACK, it means that now only when it has received the nonce, it can increase it, right? So if the nonce, it gets back the nonce value or non plus one value, right? Then it knows that it has packet is received. Otherwise, it can kill the connection. Okay? But it requires some protocol change. Any questions? Okay, to summarize, TCP protocols are not designed considering security in mind. TCP protocol is mainly designed for multiplexing, demultiplexing, and for reliability. Okay. So there are various methods of attacking a SYN flood we have seen that will take all the memory that's required for TCP blocks. You can forcefully terminate the connection using RST packet, or you can inject the spurious data. There can also be receiver initiated attacks, okay? Which we have seen is ACK division, duplicate ACK, optimistic hacking, and there are various methods to handle these attacks. Okay? All right. That's all about TCP attacks.